on your radio dial. It's just about the time for Your Views. Your Views is a program that is hosted on WINN FM. It's viewed on WINN FM via internet, and it's heard on 98.9. It's a program where you can call in and you can share your views, or normally we would have people who would come in and would give information that is absolutely necessary, and that is one of the reasons for the program, so that we would be kept informed and not just left in midair and trying to ask questions without having anybody to answer it. That is one of the reasons why we air this program, Your Views. It's Friday. My name is Sandra Quilly-Atherton, and I'm the host of Your Views. It's a beautiful day in St Kitts. Those of you who are not here, I might sound distracted. I am. For those of you who are not in St Kitts, I want to let you know that our weather is perfect. It's windy, not really too windy. It's nice and the sun is out in all its glory. There's a beautiful breeze coming from every direction there is. And let me tell you something, the atmosphere is perfect. You would never believe that there is an epidemic and the world outside of us is experiencing all of these problems, because here in St Kitts and Nevis it's like normal. The only problems that you're not seeing is that we don't have the cruise ships in the ocean, but otherwise than that, and other people who are experiencing hardships, you would not see, it's not reflected on what's happening here in St Kitts and Nevis. We have been looking at some statistics about the situation of COVID-19. I was supposed to have me a guest this morning, but I suppose, like everything else, he might have got himself caught up and couldn't show up. But we always have different topics and always ready to do other things. I always have a plan B, and so we are going to go to not really plan B, but it's basically the same topic that we're going to discuss. But what we're going to do today is that we're going to allow you to call in and say how you feel about the situation here right now in St. Kitts and Nevis, how you've been affected by the COVID-19. I was looking at some statistics, and we recognize to date America would have had over 500,000 deaths. India would have had about 150,000. The United Kingdom is slowly crawling up. You're talking about they have over 4 million cases, and you have over 120-something thousand deaths. And these are the reality of what COVID-19 has been doing to the world. And like I said, in St. Kitts and Nevis, I think we're taking things not really for granted, but I think sometimes we're becoming complacent. We see now they've rolled out the vaccination. We have had over 2,000 people who have already been vaccinated, which is very good. The response for me, based on the lines that I've seen, it's awesome. And people have been asking, so what strategies you've been using in St. Kitts and Nevis so that you can have, when you look at what's happening in the other Caribbean islands or neighboring island, Antigua, St. Martin, Anguilla, we see that these cases are rising. They're asking, what are you guys doing? And you know what? We could say about protocols and protocols and protocols. And protocols are in place, and we have to say thank you to the NEOC. But I want to congratulate the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, because I find, because of the fact that we've adhered to the protocols, we're not perfect, but because of what we've been doing as a people, that is one of the reasons why we can boast the control that we have, and the fact that we haven't had any hospitalization and we haven't had any deaths to date, which is, we are in a world of 200 and how many countries, 70-something countries, and we have not had any deaths. When you look at all the other statistics, you see all the other islands who have had deaths, hospitalization, and you ask yourself the question, are we special? Is there someone up there that is looking down on us? What have we done to deserve this, is the question that we ask. But then you listen to the naysayers, you listen to the critics who want to see situations for whatever purpose or reasons it is. They're talking on the negative side, and people do not have an understanding of what negative energy can do. Let us enjoy and boast the fact that we would have done what we had to do. We have to congratulate the NEOC. These are people who have worked around the clock so that we can be safe. And all that we have to do is to be appreciative and show that we we appreciate what they would have done, the sacrifices that they would have made. I mean, you saw Dr. Wilkerson making history. He was the first to have his vaccination. Then the Prime Minister followed. If we want to continue to say, everybody, I mean, it's not everybody who's going to run and take the vaccination, because we've had information circulating in the media, people not having a good understanding of what even the information is saying, and people would have taken their own position of whether or not they're going to take the vaccination. And, after a period of time, people are going to come to grips in whether or not they should take the vaccination. So it's not everybody who's going to do it. People have personal reasons why they won't do it. I mean, people have had their personal experiences why they won't do it. But at the end of the day, if we can get as much people to do it, and that is one of the reasons why Dr. Wilkerson was talking about herd immunity. So the stronger ones, those of you, if the majority of the strong ones would take the vaccination, then they're going to protect those who cannot. Those are children who are under the age of 18, and then you have people who have other compromised immune systems who cannot take the vaccination. But if we would protect ourselves, those of us who can protect ourselves will protect ourselves, then at the end of the day, we would have had herd immunity, and we would be in even a better position that we are in right now. I mean, we have to look at how COVID has not only affected our health system, our healthcare system, it has it affected our economy big time. We look at the taxi drivers who can't seem to get any work. The cruise ship are not coming in, tourists not really coming in as they should at the airport, because of the fact that when you come in, you still have that 2 weeks quarantine period, and most people have 14 or 21 days vacation. And so if you come to quarantine for 2 weeks, basically if you have a 21-day vacation, then you have another 3 to 4 days that you'll be able to enjoy your sun or sand, the tranquility that you normally come for. But it is what it is. Then at the end of the day, we look at the countries that we depend heavily on for tourism. UK, they're closed down. America is having bales and bales of problems. They're saying since the vaccination, they're seeing a decline in the COVID cases. Remember, though, that vaccination is not going to stop you from getting the virus. You can be exposed to the virus. What it's going to do is the severity of the symptoms you would not have. The fact that that's what people tend to run from, hospitalization, where you have respiratory trouble, where you can't breathe, and other issues that you would have to experience. What it does, the vaccination does, it would prevent you from having those severe symptoms. We knew when we were growing up, we used to go, and up to now, I don't know some of the reasons, some of the vaccinations that we would have had, but I know when you're 12 and you're getting ready to go to high school, you were given a vaccination. People tend to say it's tetanus or whatever it is. I'm not going to call it because I don't know what it is. And then after that, I see now that they're in college, CFBC, they're given another one. And we never questioned those, because basically it is basically what it's the habit that we have. It's become the norm, where you go. Children are inoculated at certain stages. They have boosters, similar to what is happening now with the COVID vaccination, where you take your child to, and nobody's questioning those, and those have been given bad raps, but people are not questioning those. Information is out there on the internet the same way about these same vaccinations that our children are exposed to, and yet still we take our children to get the vaccination, but we are questioning whether or not we should take the COVID-19 vaccination. It's a lot that you're not able to understand. The information is forthcoming, but some of us, we're not, tuned into that information. We don't read as much. We're not in tune to the news. We don't listen to these documentaries. And so based on information that we have been given, it's the habit that we have as a people, where we are taught, we are brainwashed, we take information without basically investigating or doing our own research, and then we go along with it and we make it a reality. But sometimes I would wish that people would start to read more, people would start to become a little more analytical, look at the situation at hand, recognize that this is not something that is new. I mean, one of the questions people are asking is, how come you can develop a vaccination in such a short period of time, in less than a year? Dr. Wilkerson would have explained that normally when people are having issues, The problem is finance, but because of the fact the people who are interested in getting the vaccination out, they are very financially secured, and so that is one of the reasons. And people want, it's a pandemic. The whole world is affected by it, and it's everybody can get it. It's not like some of the non-communicable diseases where everybody would not get it, but everybody can get COVID if you're in a situation, and that is one of the reasons when you have situations like pandemics, you have to have, in order to save the world, we have to do something in order to control the virus. And one of the things that they would have done is that they've come up with different types of vaccinations where we that would be able to control. Dr. Wilkerson explained, I'm not a medical doctor, have a little better understanding sometimes because the fact that I would have read and because I'm very, very curious, and I tend to go out and do my own research to see what the problem is and whether or not the solution is making any sense. So, and these are the things that we have to do. Do not just listen to what people are saying. You have to do your own research. Let's look at COVID-19. It's a virus of the unknown. Up to now, nobody seemed to understand, or nobody would admit to where the virus stemmed from, where it came from, and why COVID-19. They said we've had other strains of the virus before. We know that for a fact because when you look on the Clorox bottle and some of the disinfectants, you see that it even controls COVID-19. I mean, not COVID-19, but the coronavirus. So the coronavirus has seemed to have been the different strains of coronavirus. COVID-19 is one that started up in 2019. I suppose that is why they have the 19 extension, so we can differentiate from that to the others and recognize, because after the studies that they would have had, they saw the symptoms and the severity of the symptoms, and we're now looking at the death tolls, and I think from those are the things that you take into consideration when you recognize that, this is not a normal situation, we have to do something. And after that, I think everybody went into vaccination mode, seeing how you can protect, how you can control, and by doing so, all of the learned scientists would have come, and because of the fact that we've had, like I said, we've had these viruses out before. We've had SARS, we've had we have had chicken pox, we have had measles, we have all of these that they continue. We have the flu that is. Every year we have the flu that is out. People are exposed to it. Although lots of people take their flu shots, they still have the symptoms, but mild symptoms of the flu. But if you don't have that, if you're not protected, because that's what it does. They inject, I don't know whether or not they inject but according to Dr. Wilkerson, it's a protein. There's parts of the virus that you would have taken off, put it in small amounts so that your body can recognize the DNA of the virus. And when it sees something like that, recognizing that, okay, this is not what it's supposed to be, it is an invader, then it build more of the white blood cells and get into the lymphocyte cells where it can help to start fighting more. These are the army that we have on the inside that would tend to, the body would produce more so that you can help to fight off these viruses. That's one of the reasons why we have these symptoms, because when your body is fighting, then of course you're gonna have fever, you're gonna have runny nose because your body's trying to expel it through the mucus. You're gonna have pain because that's what it does, creates inflammation, and so your body's going to be pained, and then you're going to have that lethargy, fatigue, because your body is fighting really hard to make sure that it expels the virus, and so those are the symptoms that we do have. Some people have respiratory problems when you have an overload of mucus and it tends to go into your lungs, and then you have to rush to the hospital. These are the stages that you have to go. You have to be rushed to the hospital to see, so that the doctors can see what they can do to help you. And and it's not, and I've seen some situations, I've heard people who would have had family members who were exposed to the virus, people themselves who have been exposed to the virus, and I'm gonna tell you, it is not a good thing. So like I said, we have to be grateful, we have to show gratitude to the people who would have taken the highway, and the competent people that we have at the head, who would have come up with their own strategies and their own theories and their own protocols in order to keep us safe. We can say as much as we want. A lot of people are saying, like I said, if you want to be a part of the program, I'm rambling on and I forgot to let you know the lines are open. The numbers are 6620989, sorry, 7620989, or 4660989 if you want to call in and you want to share your views on the program. If you want to say how you've been affected financially, what you think, how you think the government is doing in order to control what is happening, or whether or not the government is doing a good job in order to making sure that people are employed. These are things that you can call in. This is the topic that we're discussing. We're talking about COVID-19. So please, let us stick to the topic if you're going to call in to be a part of the program. Let us stick to the topic and let's not behave like it's a program where you can just talk about every and anything, because the idea is so that your call can be beneficial to some people who are still waiting to make up their minds on whether or not to take the vaccination. The slogan is out there: do not hesitate, vaccinate. So if you can call in and give your experiences from the vaccination, the symptoms, the mild symptoms that you would have had, and so that others would be aware, have an idea of what it is. Because we are struggling with the propaganda that is circulating on social media. We're trying to decipher whether or not what is truth and what is fake, because people are making a joke of this whole thing. People are showing things that are saying these are symptoms, these are what happened to people who would have had the vaccination. We can't prove that. And so those of you who would have been vaccinated and who want to let the public know that it is just a stick, simple dig, and the symptoms are mild, and that you're up and doing your work like normal, you're going to work and there was no downtime. These are the things that people want to hear. So if you want to call in and give that information, you can do so. Like I said, the numbers to call are 7620989, 6620989, or 4660989. Those are the numbers you can call in. So let's continue to look at what COVID-19 what COVID-19 is and the effects of COVID-19, not just in the Caribbean or in St Kitts and Nevis, but on the world at large. I said before, our tourism industry is really crawling right now. It's creepy crawly. We know here in St. Kitts the government had just built that second pier to accommodate the thriving tourism industry that we had, the cruise tourism that we had. It's so sudden though, and when we look at how sudden things can happen and how simple and the effect that it has on us as a people. I mean, we were boasting, we were second in, when you talk about GDP per capita, we were second in the Caribbean, but we're still up there because like I said, I've been talking to people from different Caribbean islands, the big islands, and those who were in the forefront, and think it is still ranking up there, because I would want to say kudos to the government that we have now, the Prime Minister, the ministers of cabinet that he has, his support group, the permanent secretaries, people, his advisors, the advisors. They have done a very, very, very good job, because when you see that the things are still happening, because I thought the first thing would have stopped was basically infrastructure development, and focus would have turned, you'd have gone into that kind of shutdown mode. We have a caller online. Let's take this first call. Caller, you're live on your views. I think we would have lost that caller. We have another caller. Let's take this call. Caller, you're live on your views.
Sandra, good morning. How are you?
Girl, if I complain, then something is wrong with me. But I'm great.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
But Sandra, let me say something. I ain't vaccinated. I ain't got the vaccination yet. But to me, Sandra, if you have to study with people, you will always go backward. Long time when you have your children small and you carry them to the clinic and they get a shot, they tell you, okay, if you have a fever, give some Tylenol or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not child right now could go in school in America without the vaccinate and the shots up to date.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So the vaccination ain't doing nobody nothing. Some people talking about the waiting and tube of vaccination, and all carry the same name, but it's just different company. It's serving the same purpose. It's just like if you go to the pharmacy to buy something,
Have
the pharmacist might say, okay, this one, we ain't had the one where you want, but this one do the same job. It's just different companies.
Yeah, you have generic brands and you have the...
All serving the same purpose. So I believe that people need to go out there and take the vaccination, because he ain't doing nobody nothing. People causing more harm to themselves than the vaccination. And if you're going to go with a doubt and feel like he can do something to you, get over it. Understand?
Uh-huh.
So people need to go out there and take the vaccination. He ain't doing you not a thing. It's just maybe everybody body, like you might get a high fever or you mightn't have it. But the vaccination ain't doing nobody nothing. They're asking everybody to go out there. I allergic to aspirin, so I got to wait to see how it will react on me but I willing to take it because I always on a plane, Sandra.
I
And you
know.
have a blessed
I
you
know.
have a blessed and a safe day.
Thank you.
People, stop study people. Stop study people. If people study people like that, all the time you're going to always go backward. In America, you know what happened to them in St Kitts too? They're too blessed. If that's the kicking on the doorstep, Sandra, they're like glad to take the vaccination. But you know why? Nobody was dying.
Yeah.
God bless the Prime Minister.
Thank
And
you.
the CMO. Wonderful job. You have a blessed day, and if you have to vaccinate, you do it.
I won't
Okay?
hesitate. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you
Okay.
for your contribution. You know, that's one of the things, the areas, and I like the fact that the caller would have said that we have to be grateful, but we have to look at the hard work that these people are putting in. And if we can do what we have to do, we make it easier for them. Let's go to the phone lines and take another call. Caller, you live on your views.
Sandra, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
No disrespect to your last female caller, who said everybody bodies are not alike. I'm so glad that she said that, because at the same time, she encouraging everybody to go and take the vaccine. But everybody's body ain't built up alike. So what I'm saying, it might be good for Tommy, might be good for Harry.
No. What she's trying to say,
Everybody saying the vaccination is good. They don't take it. They feel good. It's okay. What about if me go take it now and me dead?
But what about if you
I don't
don't?
understand. Everybody just keep saying that it's good and they want everybody to take it.
But let me ask you a question.
I don't have a problem taking it.
Well, let me ask you a
I
question.
have to be certain, which I going to have to consult my medical doctor, because they only tell you you have to go to the health center and book up. That's all they're telling you. Your immune system is not like mine. Everybody saying it's good. Why the UK promise the BVI, if anybody gets side effects, they will compensate them? What did I tell you? What I tell you,
Well, there's
something can be wrong.
But of course, there's no 100%. It's no perfect vaccination, and there are going to be side effects, and there's some people who are going to be affected.
It over like it's okay. Go
No.
ahead and take it. Don't take nothing.
And I agree with you.
That's how they're making it sound. I
Go-
have a fear.
go-
I have a health problem. I have a medical problem.
Then go talk to your
Like I say,
doctor.
I can't walk whole life again.
Go talk to your doctor, and I hear what your doctor has to say, because
But this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
My doctor has to tell me if I can take it.
Yes.
But all you've been hearing, go by the health center for sign up for it. That's all you've been hearing. Most people ain't telling you consult a doctor, you know.
I
You
think
haven't heard anything like that, you know.
I've always said
Up to yesterday, I tell somebody, my doctor might have to tell me what's take it, you know.
I agree with you. Go to the doctor, do and see whether or not you are in a position
My
to
doctor
people.
know my medical problem.
Right. So those who have, and they said that if you have problems, current medical issues, then talk to your doctor and find out whether or not you can take the vaccination. Because let me tell you, if you have a compromised immune system and you're exposed to the virus the same way, I mean, you're gonna have problems. So for me, if I were you, I like what you're doing. You take your time, proceed with caution. Everybody's body is not the same. Everybody's response is not going to be the same. Nobody can promise you a vaccination that is 100% safe. So therefore, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, do what you have to do and see whether or not you're in a position to take it, but hope that you're in, because if you already have a compromised immune system, then if you're exposed to the virus, the COVID-19, it can be detrimental the same way. So I would agree with you to go and talk to your physician and hear what they have to say.
I'm saying, this is what I plan to do, but you hardly hear any of that on radio, on social media, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
All they're telling you, go by your name, center, go book up. Just like that, you hardly hear it.
But
But you consult your physician.
I think everybody has to exercise. I mean, you yourself has to be intelligent in doing this thing. It's not because people say to go and do it. There are things that you have to sit down and decide. And I agree with what you're saying. You have a fear because you already have a situation. All of us do. I am deathly afraid of vaccinations. I mean, I've studied vaccinations, and I have my own opinion on it. But at the end of the day, that's my opinion, and that's my reasoning. and so, but I have to be convinced that this is the way to go. And I'm not because somebody say it, I have to do my own research and see whether or not this is really the way to go. The same way, just like you, and come to my own conclusion. So I agree with you. Go talk to your physician. They know, your physician know what your situation is, and they will be able to advise you better. Okay?
Another thing, people comparing this year to the vaccination I gave when I was small going to school. What that was for then, and what this is for now.
It's similar.
They always bring it up when we were small going to school.
No, but it's similar.
Because vaccination and ain't kill nobody.
But
what that was for then and what this is for now.
Let me tell you.
All them shopping that are here to get them things.
No. Listen to me, and let me see if I can help you here. The vaccinations are the same. It's for the same purpose. Then you had for mumps, rubella, measles, those were viruses that was plaguing young children, and so you got the vaccination to protect you in the event, or so that your symptoms can be mild. I got measles for one day. My mother would have had me inoculated, so I suppose that was one of the reasons. Then you have for tetanus in the event that you should get struck by anything that is rusted or otherwise, your body would be protected from, stop you from becoming paralyzed and the other symptoms or the other effects of situations like that. Vaccination is to help your body to recognize whenever there is a foreign or an invader or something that is in your system. It helps your body to have that quick response, and that is what vaccinations are for. So your body still has to fight, and that is one of the reasons when you're complaining about the fact you already have a compromised immune system or you have a health problem. You have to proceed with caution, because your body's already fighting whatever you have. I don't know what you have. You know what you have.
I
and
have
so
a
then
serious back problem, Andrew. Let me tell you. Serious back problem.
And it could come from other things, because the back problem is just not a back problem. There are things that would trigger that. That is just to show you that there's something going on, so you don't know what the problem is. And I agree with you. Because pain is going to come, mild pain, muscle pain is going to come, and whether or not you feel like you're up to taking this, having this pain is another thing. And that is why I said to you, think about it, but do not rule it out. Think about it. Go to your doctor. Ask the questions, get the information. And I like the fact that you're not just plunging in and just doing it because people are saying it. You are actually questioning it, and I like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to rule it out, period, but I have to get my doctor advice. That's what I'm saying.
Good. I agree with you. No problem. It's that's what it is. Thank you for your call. Your contribution is very important, and it shows that people... I've said that. It's not you going around and telling everybody, oh, go take it. People have fears. People don't have a good understanding of it, and nobody's going to just jump into it and don't know why they're taking it. Understanding why you're taking the vaccination is a good thing. And that is one of the reasons why I had Dr. Wilkinson here, the Chief Medical Officer, the Medical Chief of Staff here. He was on the program, and he told you why, and he gave the medical insight of what the vaccination is and why the vaccination. He made the comparisons. I can't do that. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just like you and others who are out there sitting and hoping that this is the real thing and the real deal and this is going to work. I have that, the same questions that people are asking, and I'm not one who's going to run into it. But at the end of the day, we see that vaccinations, and the statistics are there to show that vaccinations have saved lives. Everybody's body is not the same. People have underlying problems that they're not even aware of. And so that is one of the reasons why you have to proceed with caution. A lot of times people going out realizing that they have other problems, and then it poses issues. The type of vaccination, the AstraZeneca that we are using, people are waiting for. The one out of Cuba, again, everybody has a reason why. Maybe people have more confidence in things coming out of Cuba, whether or not it's the same makeup. People have the confidence in stuff coming out of Cuba, and they want to wait for the Cuban one to come. If we don't get the Cuban one, I don't know what they're going to do in that event. But I think what is necessary is that information going out there, educating people. We are not the same people that would just walk into things anymore without questioning it. When we were growing up, our parents just took us and we were just inoculated. Now we recognize, the caller said before, You cannot go to certain schools, and I saw that when as you go from school to school, you have to make sure that your card, your baby, your health card is updated. I had problems with that because I've always questioned vaccination, not just COVID-19, but other vaccinations. I've had my issues with that, and at one point in time refused to have my children inoculated. But then you saw that there's no way around it, and then you have to sit down and think, okay, there are millions of children before mine who would have had their vaccination. So why am I sitting it out? And then, there are people who would have had adverse side effects, and it is normal. It's not just from a vaccination. Some people take aspirin, and it poses lots of problems. Aspirin is out there; it's sold on the shelf, but aspirin poses a lot of problems to some people because they're highly allergic to aspirin. So what you can take, not because you can take it means that I can take it. So it's about you having an understanding of your health situation, sitting down with your doctor, having that discussion, finding out whether or not you have to weigh the pros and the cons. If you're not inoculated, then if you're exposed to the virus, your chances of survival is smaller than whether or not you would have had the vaccination, that protection that your body would have created, the antibodies that your body would have created in the event that you would have been exposed to the virus. That fast, that quick response that you need, and that is what the vaccination provides. If you have a already compromised immune system and you're exposed to COVID-19, so your chances of survival will be greater if you were inoculated before. So these are the things that you have to take into consideration. There's a risk to everything that you do, and we can't dull that down. I mean, it's not everybody who sat and took the vaccination was like, oh yeah, it's good. In your back of your mind, you're asking, Lord, I'm praying, Lord, I do hope that I do not have, or I'm not one of those who would have that adverse effect. But people wanting to make sure that they are protected, they would sit and they would take the vaccination. And you have to ask yourself the same question. It's a hard question. It's finding yourself between a rock and a hard place. Damn if you do, damn if you don't. And so you ask, I don't know if I take it how my body's going to respond. But the good thing about it is that you're not getting the full virus, the full the invasion of the full virus. It is parts of it that has been shaved off. So because you're exposed to it, you're going to show symptoms of it because your body is fighting, but it doesn't have as much to fight because you're not getting all of it than if you were fully exposed to the COVID-19. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons and see which one makes more sense. See which one which is going to be more effective for you, which is going to be more beneficial for you, and do that. People, you recognize that the revelers still wanting Carnival to happen. The virtual things that they would have done last year was a sign, an insight of how creative we are, but it didn't give us the feelings that we normally get when we can go on the roads and we can jam. Although you still saw the talents that we have. The Calypso show went on, and people were judged because you could have seen it from your homes. But you still do. It's not the same. The atmosphere, the environment is not the same. You cannot go out and experience it. You look at, and right now I am dying inside because track and field is one of my things, and we're not going to have that this year. I look forward to that. It's my passion, is my get out, and we're not going to have that. So we see why we have reasons why some of us have to go out. Those of you who like to party and you've been deprived of going out there and socializing and partying. If you don't take the vaccination, this is going to be for a very long period. You talk about years of sitting in and waiting for us to come to that point where we can realize, thinking that we have herd immunity before. Because it doesn't make sense that the government would have exercised all of these cautions and then would show caution to the wind because we think that we've had a few people that has been vaccinated. So if you really want to go out there, for those of you who are sitting home, not working because the hotels are still closed, these are the reasons why you should think about going out and take the vaccination. People who have now become cooks and are selling foods, because that's one of the only, I think everybody's doing that right now, is another a way of making an income because you can't go out to work. The tips are not forthcoming. You still have your rent, your house rent to pay. Your car loans are still there. You're still faced with all of the bills. So COVID has not taken away your expenses. It has taken away your income. And so because of that, lots of you have to start to take these things and wait in the balance and see what makes more sense. People have taken the vaccination. We haven't had any deaths. I haven't had anybody talk about any real adverse effects from the virus. People have talked about the mild symptoms that they would have had. We see the doctors are taking it. I mean, they're humans, and if they're going to take it, it gives us an idea that it's not because for TV purposes. Because if I was a doctor and I know that the virus, the vaccination was not good, you couldn't get me in that chair. I would ask everybody who would want to do it, go and do it. But because I think they have the confidence, the fact that this is the virus, this is the vaccination that's going to help more than it's going to hurt. It's one of the reasons that they would have taken it, and it should give us the confidence that it is the right thing to do. So these are the things that we have to take into consideration. The fear is going to be there because you can't take away that. The fear is going to be there. People are still going to be afraid. I'm afraid of needles, deathly afraid of needles. I am afraid of needles. Even talking about it makes me feel, giving me anxiety. That is how much fearful I am. But at the end of the day, I do not like to feel sick. There are a lot of people who are saying there are natural things out there. But if you're not taking the natural things, whether or not they're out there, and you're not taking the natural things, you're going to be exposed to the virus. Because we always like to say they're natural things and they're the natural route in which you can go. But if you're not doing it, if you're not drinking garlic and ginger and lemon and honey all day, it means at one point in time your body, you're exposed to the virus. I mean, you still have to go through the same process of fighting. You're still going to wind up in the hospital. Doctors are still going to give you drugs because, based on the severity of the symptoms. So even though you're saying that you're natural, when you want to be comforted, because that's what, for me, that's what drug do. It gives you that comfort that you can fight, but at least you don't have all that pain. That's why you take those shots. So even though you are practicing natural medicine or you believe in natural medicine, lots of time when fear comes and we think that we are going to die, we run ourselves straight to the hospital and we take the drugs same way. So these are some of the excuses that people are putting forward, that we can protect ourselves naturally if the stuff is there. But the fact that COVID is a reality, it is obvious that we were not protecting ourselves naturally. We don't get up every morning and just drink herbs, and we don't drink things that is going to come back inflammation, because we don't even have an understanding of it. So we just drink random bush, and some random bush doesn't kill viruses. And so these are the things that we have to understand, and those are some of the reasoning that we're putting forward why we are not why we don't want to take the vaccination. But we have to sit down and we have to really think. We have to look and see the effects of COVID-19 on our economy. There are young people coming out of schools. Government STEP was one of the programs that would try to eliminate some of the hardships for people who can't seem to get a job otherwise. Government took up that responsibility of employing, I think it was over 3,000 people that was on the STEP program. This is going to be a problem. Government has to halt employment. They can't employ any new people because, it's very, very minimal because, again, government is overwhelmed. We're not getting the income, the sources that we used to have. The tourism industry, it's what we depend heavily on. It's our source of income, one of our major sources of income. Business places, you have to start. Taxes are one of the other areas that government has to start to look at. So we all are going to be affected. So ask yourself the question, that little stick, those mild symptoms, in comparison to the hardships that we are facing, hospitals coming back for the vehicles, landlords are trying to see how they can get you out after the next 3 months. You can't seem to buy what you're accustomed to. Your lifestyle has changed. School children are taken out of private schools because parents can't afford to pay for school fees. Children are sitting home or going to school now without breakfast and depending heavily on school lunch. You're seeing all of those hardships that we are faced with because of the impact of COVID-19 on our economy. So the question you ask, how am I contributing to the extension or the longevity of the effects of COVID-19 on the economy. If I would take the vaccination, if you would take the vaccination, then we would come back to some semblance of normalcy, where we can see the cruise ships coming in without us having to worry about our healthcare system becoming overwhelmed because people are going to be infected with COVID-19. And so these are the things that we can, these are the contributions that we can make as individuals, making sure that we can be of some assistance. We laud and praise the NEOC. We can look and see how we ourselves can contribute. It's an all hands on deck situation that we find ourselves in. People are blaming the government and looking and seeing government is not employing who or people are out there, the hardships people are having, government having to take back lands. These are going to happen. Government needs resources, and you can't have things sitting out there and people are not paying for them. Government has to take them back. And people could say as much as they want, and we have to realize that the government is not placing us in a bubble where they have access to income that we don't have access to. They make their money from people coming here. People can only come here freely if we are not trying to avoid community spread of the virus. When people come here, they have to go in quarantine. People are complaining about the high prices. I've seen where Canada now is saying you have to pay $2,000, $2,000, Canadian dollars, that is, in order for you to, when you go out and you're coming back in. We see the airlines are basically grounding their aircraft, and we see what is happening in the United Kingdom. We see what's happening in Europe. We see what's happening in America, in the United States. We see, and these are the countries that we heavily depend on. So when they are down, we are going to be down. So if we all can take the highway and the approach of, let's see how many of us can, or how many of our healthy people can take that vaccination, and let us start to see how we can take some of the pressure off government, because after a while government would collapse. You have to have some serious, and I would say it, and I would say it, and I would say it, and I would say it over and over again. We have to be grateful for the people that we have at the helm. We have to be grateful for the knowledgeable Prime Minister that we have sitting there. I don't care which party you back. This is not a political statement. This is a reality. This is a fact. We have to be grateful for the people that we have at the helm. These are the people that allow us to sit back and analyze other countries and wonder and feeling that we are blessed. It's not because we are different. It's because we have people who have a good understanding, who would have practiced fiscal prudency and manage the wealth of the country in a way that we can sit down and feel not sit down, but we can feel comfortable knowing that we are not yet in the positions that a lot of our neighboring islands are in right now. I've been having discussions with people, not here in St. Kitts, people in the States, people in Antigua, people in Barbados, and they're saying that maybe if the government would have taken the stance earlier, what they're trying to do now is like trying to close the gates when the horse is already out. They would have not have been in the situation that they're in now. And that is one of the reasons. For that reason, I can say that we are grateful for the people who would have made that decision, the decisions that they would have made earlier to put us in a position that we are in. We have to be grateful. Sometimes we overlook these things and we think that it's the norm, not realizing the hardships or the sacrifices that other people would have put themselves through. I see the doctors are taking the vaccination and I'm saying, why are they doing that so early? Because these people, and these are the ones who are supposed to be the last for me, because of the fact that they're stressing themselves to make sure that we are safe. Their bodies are under stress, and you're going to take a vaccination when your immune system is already compromised. You're stressful. It can pose problem, but they are examples. They went out and put their life on the line for us, their lives on the line. They have families that they have to be responsible for, but yet still they put their lives on the line for us. And what do we do as a people? The norm? Ungrateful. We are not grateful, ever grateful. We become critical and we push our agendas. not realizing that at the end of the day, it was at the cost, and we see it in the news, we hear it in the news about frontline workers who would have sacrificed their lives, not just their time, their lives, put their families at a disadvantage to save lives that they don't even know. And these people are sacrificing themselves so that we can be safe. And what do? We adopt this attitude of ungratefulness, selfishness, and we use it under the umbrella of fear. But it's not that. It's the fact that we just don't care. While somebody is fighting for us, we can relax because we know that there are people on the forefront, they're in the front, and they're the ones who are going to be affected before me. And when they're affected, then I can run to the hills or somewhere for refuge, because there we can see now what is happening. We have to be a little more grateful. And not just grateful, we have to see how we can help as individuals. And the way that we can help, according to Dr. Wilkinson and the CMO and the NEOC and the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Government and the people who would have already gone out there and done it, you have to stop hesitating and make sure you go and get your vaccination. When I look at the people who are in line for vaccinations, it takes me back to another topic that I cannot discuss now because we are almost running out of time. But when I look at the people who are in lines that are taking the vaccination, I laugh, because these are people who we always complain about, foreigners coming to our shores. And these are the ones who are making sure that at the end of the day, that their businesses are secured. Because when we can come to the point where we have herd immunity, then of course people are going to go back out and start patronizing their businesses. These are people who recognize that if we don't do this now, these are people who are asking and begging for the vaccination. It is here. The government would have done its part. It's for us as a people to go out and do our part. I know when I'm off the radio, people are going to call me and ask me questions about me. I'm going to turn off my phones, because I know what the statement is going to be like. And Carla, if you ask me any question, I must say congratulations to you. You would have done that. I'm so proud. You have inspired me. I see people like Julie Martin writing these long, and I'm listening to, I'm reading it. I'm saying, wow, wanting it to happen and can't seem to get it done, and she is bothered by it. And these are the people that you look to, and you say, wow. We are all humans. They're not made up any different to us. We've seen people who have taken the vaccination, and they've done that now, because this is week 2, and so we haven't heard of any real adverse reactions, because that's one thing about St Kitts. News travels faster than sound. So anybody who would have had any adverse, and people are out there waiting to see it too. That would have already been documented. Facebook is a place where everybody exposed their faces and everything else, and so that information would have been there. So we want to say that people, over 2,000 people would have been inoculated, and so we haven't seen or heard about any real serious adverse symptoms of, I know people would have had chills, and Dr. Laws would have experienced some, I think, mild fever, pain, little joint pain, but he went out to work the next day, and his wife, I spoke to her, and well, she's a giant of spares. I mean, she didn't have any really adverse reactions, and like I said, everybody body is different, and it's based on the position that you would have find yourself in, the health position that you would have found yourself in. Like Dr. Laws is a doctor, medical doctor, and I suppose when your body is a little stressed because you have to deal with sick people on a daily basis, and you go and you take the vaccination, your immune system is a little compromised, and so you might the effects of the symptoms that you would have would be a little more than the ordinary man who just came out of the bed, who has been relaxed and rested and have been taking his vitamins, and his body is in very good health conditions. The effects are going to be different, and that is why people always say that everybody's body is different, and so you can't push people into taking the vaccination. People have to understand where they are health wise, and that is one of the reasons why I said go and talk to your doctor and hear what the doctor has to say, whether or not you can take it, because the information is out there. It's not forthcoming. People are saying, I don't know if the AstraZeneca, that's what they're saying. If people under 18 can take it, what is the condition about pregnant women? What about children? These are the questions that you can ask. What category are you in? What position are you in? Whether or not you can go now. Another situation that people were having, we thought that you had to call in and you make an appointment. Now they're saying you can just go to the health center, fall in line, take a number. Your number is going to call and you go and you get your vaccination. Government just has received, I think it's some 20,000. I'm going based on what Dr. Wilkinson would have said earlier, 20,000 more vaccinations. So you can, first it was 2,000, we would have had over 2,000 now. So the lines are extended. People are saying they have to stay there for 2 hours. And kudos to them who are going to wait for 2 hours in line to be vaccinated. It shows people are concerned and they really want to make sure that we are back up to normalcy and we can continue to boast the vibrant economy that we've boasted over the years. We are seeing things happening. We have one, let's take this. Let's see if we can fit in this one caller because we're basically out of time. Caller, you have 1 minute.
Yes, thank you very much for taking my call. Question that keeps popping up is that, bearing in mind that the COVID-19 is a new virus, one would question how come the experts have been able to come up with a vaccine so soon, so quickly, bearing in mind that COVID-19 has only recently come on the scene.
No, COVID-19, but coronavirus, which is a strain. COVID-19 is a strain of the coronavirus, and the coronavirus has been up for a very long time. COVID-19 is another strain of coronavirus. So I suppose they would have seen how the coronavirus behaves, and that is one of the reasons why they could have come up with that.
So quickly, are you saying that coronavirus had been around long before COVID-19 came on the scene?
Yeah, COVID-19 is just a strain. Yeah, because you can see it. If you look at the Clorox bottles, it says it is effective against coronavirus. So coronavirus is up for a very long time. This is just a strain of the coronavirus. Because it happened in 2019, that is one of the reasons why it's called COVID-19. It has that extension 19.
Yeah, well, I think one of the issues people would have as well is that the public, the general public, we are not being told, we are not being informed as to what the vaccines consist of, the composition of these vaccines, what they're made from. And having just listened to what you said, I guess one can conclude that Uncle Don, that's Uncle Donald Trump, was probably not altogether totally incorrect when he told people to drink
Clorox.
That's just the right moment.
I know, and I'm trying. That's quite good. That's quite good. Yeah, but you also know what the other effects of drinking Clorox is. So I suppose you have to weigh the pros and the cons. If you drink Clorox, whether or not you would just kill COVID-19 or it would kill you. So I think that's one of the reasons why you have to.
It's only being humorous.
I know.
The Donald Trump way.
No. Well, your contribution has been. I suppose people have been asking questions, and it has. There's some information out there, and I've asked the same question, but then I recognize coronavirus has been up for a very, very long time, and COVID-19 is just another strain of it. And you're going to have other strains from this COVID-19 because the virus mutates, and I suppose as it mutates, it gets different strains, and they're given different names based on the effect.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of video clips have actually come out with people talking about coronavirus way back. But the one thing I can end here with is that Donald Trump is certainly a president that Americans and people around the world will never ever forget as long as they live.
Definitely not.
You have a
okay,
blessed day.
Thank you for your contribution. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Well, we are out of time. It's unfortunate, but this is what it is for those of you who have been in tune and who would have had the information. I wish when we sit down, we have discussions, we can talk about, there are other things out there. The information is forthcoming. It's on the internet. So even though we are not in tune to, and every week we have the NEOC giving us a weekly update, and these are questions. They have the question and answer segment, and people can call in and ask questions. And this is what you have to do. You have to ask questions. If you're not sure, ask the question. And just like the caller would have said, why? How come all of a sudden, I've asked the question, you've had AIDS out there for the longest while. Cancer has been an issue. How come you can't seem to come up with something that is going to curb that? And that is a good question to ask. And why all of a sudden you can get COVID-19 is here and you can find, again, we know that coronavirus has been there for a very long time. We have had SARS. And these are all, they have basically the same kind of built up, makeup structure. They're basically the same. And so having studying them and having a study of viruses and the effects on the body, it's easier. Technology is way, way more advanced now than it was then. Science they've done a lot more research now than they would. And as a matter of fact, they were researching then, and now they have had all the information, most of the information. So that is one of the reasons why they can, do these things so much quicker than they could have done then, because then it was new. Now it's just an extension of, we are just bombarded with different names, but basically the same strain. The effects are basically the same. So more sooner or later, we see that we're getting closer and closer to coming up with cures for a lot more of the diseases that we have, the non-communicable diseases. You see people are now going more to the natural state for hypertension and diabetes. And, people are getting better informed. They're getting better informed. And by way of information, people can come up with their own solutions too, because the research has been done, the tests have been carried out, the long term. My only problem for COVID-19 is the long term side effects, because they wouldn't have had the time to do that long term testing, because that is one of the reasons why it takes so long to come up with vaccinations, because you have to do long term testing to see what the side effects and long term would be. But I suppose, like I said, COVID-19, it's just an extension of it's another variation of coronavirus and some like SARS and all of the flu. It's basically a similar situation. So they have had, although they haven't had any long-term testing for COVID-19, they have carried out the long-term testing for coronavirus and other viruses of that nature. I am not a medical doctor. Let me make this disclaimer. I am only saying things based on information that I would have had my own research. I've read, doctors would have done the same thing too. And I suppose by them reading and having the exposure and the intelligence that they would have applied, they are in a position, and I suppose the certificate that they would have gotten give them that right. But you can have that right if you read the same books, and if you follow the same information, you can have that same information to make, not diagnose, but just to help to fix a lot of the situation. It was a pleasure. It is the weekend, and I'm going to say to you that COVID-19, the vaccination, too many enough people haven't gotten it yet, and even though you're not protected, you're not totally immune to the virus, you can have exposure. So take that into consideration. We have done well, guys. Kudos to us. This clap, give us a clap. We've done very well. Let us continue to do so, making sure that COVID-19 is controlled and not transmitted to different communities. Because of that, we can control the community spread by doing what we have to do. We have done what we had to do. Let us continue to do so. That is wearing our masks, sanitizing our hands, making sure that we wash our hands. When you get home, there's some other protocols. If you have the elderly at home, when you come from the outside, take your clothes off, take a shower before you address them, because sometimes you don't know what you're carrying. And make sure that you protect those people who can't basically protect themselves. So these are the things that we have to do. Social distancing is a must. We have to continue to recognize and exercise protocols in order to keep COVID-19 away from us, and so that we can get back into some sense of normalcy. The tourist ship can come, the taxi man can have the freedom of and the privilege and the responsibility that they have to take on of feeding their families, and we can become the St Kitts that we once were if we do as a people what we're supposed to do. My name is Sandra Quilly-Atherton. It was a pleasure. It is the weekend, and it's the time that I would have completed all of this talking. I'm going to drink me some water, hydrate my body so that I can, it's another form of protection, and so that I can be available for you next Friday. Enjoy your weekend. Voice is up next. Stay tuned to WINN FM 98.9.